Welcome to a special extra edition of our new show, Meet Me in the Foyer, hosted by Cinemania, Linda Marrick's own channel on YouTube. This special show will probably go out before our actual first show due to the vagaries and oddness of the podcast world, but don't worry about that. Enjoy it nonetheless. So, this special edition, hosted by myself, Jawa, and my critic and colleague, Linda Marrick. Good evening, Linda.
Hello, hi, how are you?
Very well, thank you. How are you doing?
Yeah, good, good, good. Exciting times. New show, new everything, really. So
Absolutely. And
that's our
new, sorry,
lovely backgrounds.
of course, yes, yes. And our new super summer blockbusters, the
Yeah,
first of
yeah.
which as shall be out in, I don't know what the date is. What is the date today? It's the 14th, so
Today,
it's out in 7 days.
yeah, today's the 14th. Yeah, so the embargo is about to lift. So yeah, then it's out in 7 days, as you say. Yes.
Yeah. And what is it we're talking about? Of course, we're talking about Mission Impossible Final Reckoning, the eighth installment in the Mission Impossible franchise, starring Mr. Tom Cruise and directed by Christopher McQuarrie.
This can't all be true.
Every word.
A CIA Black Vault break-in.
Am I reading this correctly? The Kremlin bombing?
In fairness, the bomb was actually meant to kill him.
He gassed a security briefing.
That was just 2 months ago.
This explains the handcuffs. It's still not clear why he's here.
If we want to bring the world back from the brink, we have to deal with him.
Should he choose to accept?
Smart people on every side are close to panicking.
What exactly is your plan?
Your team has been betrayed, Ethan. All your secrets compromised.
Everything you are, everything you've done, has come to this. You gave him an aircraft carrier?
Our lives are the sum of our choices. If this was your calling, your destiny, I have no regrets. Neither should you.
I need you to trust me. One last time.
A certain person in this special show has already seen it,
I
unbelievably.
have. Yes, indeed, I have. I saw it on Sunday night at a very special screening. For mostly, it was mostly like a junket screening for press, and I was very, very lucky. But I could have done without having a screening on Sunday nights. I don't usually like those ones. So midweek are my favorite screening times. But hey, beggars can't be choosers.
Does
Yeah.
this mean you weren't at the BFI special with Mr. Cruise himself?
No, unfortunately not. I was.
Oh,
Yeah, no.
they,
I know
they,
I am a little bit gutted, but it's fine. I got to see the film instead, which is for me a better thing, and then I got to sort of write my review earlier,
Mm.
and that's instead of having to sort of worry about when I was going to see it. So it's good.
So did they not show the show the film to the people at the BFI?
I don't think so.
Oh,
No,
losers.
it was mostly interviews and whatnot. No, I don't think they did.
Oh, we don't
Yeah,
need that. I mean, no, we
I
want
don't
the
think so.
film.
I'm pretty sure it wasn't the film that was shown. I'm almost 100% sure it was just a recap of his career. But I could be wrong. I'm gonna watch because I think the BFI are gonna put that interview, and I think there was also a special sort of dinner sort of with him and his team. But yeah, I'm gonna watch. I think the BFI are putting the whole interview, the whole sort of discussion online pretty soon. So I'm sorry if you can hear any noise, but I have the washing machine still on. So so yeah, but like, this is what happens when you're recording stuff at home. So yeah, so
Right.
apologies for the
It's all right. We've all
noise.
got lives to lead. It's not a problem. So, as we say, the Mission Impossible franchise returns, possibly not for the final time as it comes to light, but we'll get into that. Directed, as I say, by Christopher McQuarrie, written by Christopher McQuarrie and Eric Jendrison, and starring Mr. Tom Cruise. So let's get to what we're here for. Linda, what did you think?
Right, but so I mean, let's just set where this film is. So it's like, as you say, it's a movie of this absolutely 30-year long, almost 30 or 29 years long franchise, which I think loads of people might have forgotten, which is an adaptation of a very cheesy 1960s TV series that made a lot of sense there. And then when this was being remade into a film in the 90s, everyone was like, how are you going to get away with the whole, putting a mask on that really literally looks like a real person? But you've got it's a kind of franchise that lives in a world where you're not really you're meant to sort of suspend disbelief quite a bit, and it's sort of it's a heightened reality. It's not not really meant to be representative of it's not a Bond, and it's all actually it's closer to Bond than it is to any other action thriller. So I think when it was first released, everyone it was the first one, obviously directed by Brian De Palma, and everyone thought it was going to be this kind of really gritty kind of action thriller, but it ended up being one of those quite cheesy, but also really, really, really good. The action, I think these films are known for just the incredible amount of like proper real stunts, performed by Mr. Cruise himself, and he has managed to sort of push his ability to do those stunts from year to year, from film to film, to the point where we all always are wondering where else, how far can he go? And it's quite worrying when you see someone like Cruise at his age still doing those stunts and worrying about whether he's going to end up, hurting himself. And but yeah, these films have, in my opinion, got better and better. I think the last movie, Dead Reckoning, failed to make all of its money back, unfortunately, because I think it was just very unlucky to open alongside, was it Barbenheimer? Is that right? Or am
Yes,
I?
that's right.
Yeah, alongside Barbenheimer. There was, I think, an oversight in sort of like it coming out when the whole of sort of film all the anyone who would go to the cinema was just basically going to either Barbie or Oppenheimer, and unfortunately for Dead Reckoning, that didn't ended up being to I thought that was a fantastic movie, actually, the last one. I thought the action was absolutely brilliant. Let's talk about this one now. Now that I've introduced where this is, I I am a fan of these movies, and I have to say I have been a fan of pretty much all of them. I think the one before Dead Reckoning is probably my favorite. Can't remember what that's called, but
Oh,
I think the first hour of the film. This is a 2.5 hour long movie, actually, if not longer even, and I think that is too long personally. Other people might disagree with me. I think fans, if you are new to the franchise, you might really struggle because it is the first hour. The film does get bogged down with sort of recapping the whole franchise, not just what happened in the last movie, which I thought that was a mistake personally. There's a lot of sentimental stuff and like, oh, look what we've all achieved, and there's lots of going back in time and showing Cruise as a young man in the first one, and sort of like, like go like a look back at the whole thing, the whole 30 years. I don't think that was needed in any way, because we all know that these films, we're all capable of going home, watching the whole series before going to see the new movie. And that's what people do nowadays anyway, because these movies are available to us. I thought the exposition, the like hour-long exposition and look back at the series and this sort of the closeness of the characters and blah blah blah, I thought that was a big mistake. Having said that, within, I think that's the first 40 to 50 minutes, but I think it does get a lot better the more we get into the nitty-gritty of the action. Eventually it does get really, really good. And he has surpassed himself this time around with there's some action on planes. There's a really lengthy uh, action scene which is underwater, and he does all of them himself, obviously, because that's what he is, and he's someone who absolutely loves cinema and he loves practical stuff. He does it all himself, and not to say there isn't any CGI here, but like in the action bits where he's involved, he does everything himself. And he's up in the air on top of this, like, light aircraft, switching from one plane to another, just incredible action. And there's the underwater action bit as well. That was, for me, just absolutely fantastic, and it just more suspenseful than anything else. So with him sort of trying to sort of breathe and running out of oxygen halfway through doing it, just absolutely. I don't think this is I'm not giving away um, uh, any plot points, but these two action bits I think are going to be like the highlights of the movie. There is what I usually like about these films is the Simon Pegg bit where he is given a lot of space to do his Simon Pegg stuff, which is the funny quips and everything. I think he's given less time here to do all of that, because it's all epic. The world is gonna end, and everyone is gonna explode, and it's the end of everything, and blah blah blah. So there isn't a lot of a comic relief within it, but at the same time, I mean, I think lots of people are going to have a big problem with the sort of preposterous nature of the premise. The premise is a bit silly, and the premise is always far-fetched, but that's fine, because we know what this franchise is about. We know what it's like, and we accept it for what it is. The whole thing with the entity trying to take over the world and blah blah blah, that is fine. I mean, I did laugh quite a bit at the silliness of it, but there isn't enough comedy in this, and I missed that a lot. Having said that, despite all of these misgivings, I still really, really, really enjoyed this movie. I thought it was fantastic. Cruise is brilliant. The action is brilliant. The story is ridiculous, but there is a lot of sentimentality, lots of going back to 30 years back, and being sort of reacquainted with old characters. And yeah, there's something for everyone. Now, is your average cinema goer going to be open with the film being that long? That is another thing, because it is a mainstream action thriller, and I worry that is this the longest one so far?
I
I don't
would
know.
have thought so. It's 10 minutes short of 3 hours, so I would have thought
Yeah,
so.
so
Yeah.
this is the longest one. So I just worry that your average film goer, a cinema goer, your mainstream cinema goer might go, I'm not sitting through all that. So let's see. And apparently, I already heard that some people were kind of like, walking out to halfway through it, because was going on for too long, but not in my screening, I have to say. In my screening, everyone loved it and everyone clapped at the end. And, I don't have too many misgivings as much as I've said, but at the same time, I think it's action and, what the formula for a great summer blockbuster is good story, good action, likable characters. It has all of those, but it also has the factor of it being too long and the factor of it doing too much in the first 50 minutes. I think could have easily lost about half an hour. Having said that, it's a fantastic movie. I gave it 4 out of 5 stars, and yeah, that's it really.
Fantastic. No, I so let's talk about the time first. It's only 8 minutes longer than Avatar, and I mean that's the biggest film in film history. And I personally, side note, I think Avatar is appalling. I think it's one of the worst films I've ever seen. But it is a hugely successful film. So I would be really disappointed to hear that Mission Impossible failed because of its runtime. I know what you're saying, but
Yeah, but if you think about it, when Avatar came out, the whole selling point of Avatar, it was because it was a 3D movie. It was the
mm,
very first 3D movie that became like an event movie that people were paying money to go and see this incredible new technique that everyone was using. Although,
yes.
but the 3D was, invented some decades earlier, but it went out of fashion and sort of the technology wasn't quite where what they had hoped it would be. But because Avatar was such an event thing, I feel like there is nothing new in this that we haven't seen before to make it an event movie. Having said that, I think what makes these movies such event movies is one person only, and that is Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise is the last surviving film star, and him being part of any movie makes it special. And the fact that he's still doing his own stunts, and he's 62, I think. At
Mhm.
62, he looks incredible. He's in really good shape and just fantastic. And you can really tell that it's him doing all of the stuff. Um, is that enough for people? Because we know that people nowadays get really bored really quickly, especially younger film goers. I just think it is too long, really genuinely. I think the longest I'm prepared to sit in one place for a movie, like a mainstream movie, because obviously the Brutalist was a very long movie, almost 4 hours long, but that I absolutely loved, and I didn't think it was long in any way. However, because the Brutalist had that intermission in the middle, I feel like, why can't we go back? If you're going to make your movie this long, there is no reason why we can't have an intermission within it.
Mm.
Uh, if you want to hark back to how film business used to be like in 50s, 60s, well, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, then why not do that? And I know he's someone who is very respectful of, I mean, I keep just talking about Cruise, but it's his company who's making this movie.
Yeah.
He may not be the director, but he's hands are all over it. And McQuarrie is just a vessel for what Cruise is trying to do with this movie. If he didn't want it to be that long, he would have, he would have definitely made his feelings known. I feel the reason why it's that long is because Cruise wanted it to be that long. So I don't know. I feel like the direction by Christopher McQuarrie, like, but that's nothing new to say. It's absolutely perfect. I just feel like if you're going to have a film that long, do something about it, like do something in the middle. But that's just my opinion, and I could be wrong. I could, it could end up taking all of the money, and I want it to succeed because I feel like that duo are still the people who are still making films how they should be made. And he's keeping the whole of the UK film industry alive. His films are made in
Mm.
the UK. the first hour of the movie is set in the UK, is set in London, and like he's keeping loads of people in work. Crew and photographers, cameramen and crew and actors as well. There's a really good British contingent in this, but I have no criticism. I like Tom Cruise. I like this franchise. I just worry about it. I'm able to just sort of sit there and watch a film, whether it's 3 hours or 4 hours, because it's my job. But
Yeah.
are the rest of the people going to do that? I don't know.
I mean, yeah, no, all excellent points. I'm going to stick my neck out, as I like to do, and say that why part one, failed in quotation marks, is a mystery. There was the effect of Barbenheimer, but it came out in that weird period. Yes, it was 2023 or 2023 as normal people call it. But people were still recovering from COVID and the strikes. Cinema was struggling. Dial of Destiny had come out just a couple of weeks before, and that had failed as well. It really felt like people were sort of saying, I'm going to go to the cinema, but I'm going to go once. And so I'm going to be selective about what I go to. So the first Mission Impossible didn't do as well. It was the lowest taking film since the fourth film. And I feel a lot of that was the fact that it was part one. So my mind goes back to the Harry Potter films. Now, I was working in a cinema at the time, and the overriding sense that people got was Deathly Hallows Part 1 is good, but you feel cheated. You sit through the film just as it's getting going, the end.
Yeah, you want to see both of them together. I agree.
Exactly. So I think that Part 2, what was going to be called Dead Reckoning Part 2, but then later changed its name to Final Reckoning, just to be, unsubtle about the mission statement. I think it's just going to absolutely destroy the box office. I think
Well,
everyone.
I really hope you're right. I hope you're right. I genuinely thought it was going to do so well, the first one. I gave it 5 stars. I think it's a better movie than this one. Sorry to say, but
Right.
I thought the story was, it had like some, oomph, and I thought that the whole train sequence just it was such a brilliant setup for everything. I absolutely loved that, and I thought that was just nothing could beat it. The plane stuff is all well and good, but I thought that train sequence was just amazing. But yeah, that's just me.
Well,
I really hope
let's have a fight about this then, because I'm going to disagree with you because I didn't think part one was that great. I thought the villain didn't really do it for me. I thought his escape from the train verged on absolute ludicrousness. I thought the train sequence reeked of Inception crossed with Back to the Future Part 3, and it all felt like things I'd seen before. Plus, the trailer gave away all of the biggest stunts, which was a huge error in my
Well,
opinion.
if you thought that was ridiculous and silly, be prepared that this outdoes it in the whole silliness stakes, because there is just, I mean, some of the stuff you hear him say it and you think, what are you on about? What are you but like it's fine, I take it with the sort of the sentiment it was like given to us by, because these are silly, well, I hate to say silly movies, these are movies, and they are like really beautifully crafted, but it's pure entertainment, pure sort of, like a as I say, spectacle. And it's almost like the storyline doesn't really matter, but I like to be entertained. Once we got into like the whole sort of the heart of the movie, I was really enjoying it. There was like
Mm.
at one point I was just smiling because the whole stuff, I think the first one, the first bit of the movie that I was super impressed with was the underwater stuff, and it went on for ages, and I was like, that is so courageous. I love all that stuff. I thought it was so courageous. They don't give a shit about things being too lengthy, because it really is, it's worth doing it.
Yeah.
that way, because it's just demonstrated like what kind of how far he can go to finish the mission, and I thought that was really interesting. Yeah, but like you're right, it might destroy the box office, and I'd be, as a Tom Cruise fan myself, I'd be more than happy for it to happen.
Mm.
And just wary. I'm just wary.
Yeah.
That's all.
Well, no, absolutely. I mean, also, I can't think of anything looming on the on the cinematic horizon that threatens it really. I think the next big thing is probably the next Jurassic Park film, which has probably burnt people.
Oh, Superman.
Of course, yes, Superman is coming, but yeah, I'm reasonably confident this will be the big film
Okay,
of the year.
good. Let's be more
But
positive.
But no, it's interesting you mentioned the plot because I've seen all these films multiple times, and whilst the first film was good, I thought, and it is, as you say, a sort of standard action Hollywood movie. The problem with it was that it tried too hard. The plot was too convoluted and
Well,
complex.
you think that plot just covered?
Well, you see, the thing is, the following plots all use big words and lots of exposition, but you never remember any of it. It's all just man runs to one place, runs to next place, bad guy turns up, runs to next place. You don't remember any of it. Whereas the first one actually tried to have this very classic spy thriller plot, and you just sat there baffled for the entire thing. So yeah, they're set piece movies, aren't they? And they're wonderful for it. So I'm absolutely dying to see it. When you mention recapping and seeing old characters and things like that, and I don't want you to give anything away, but do any of these characters actually appear in cameos, or is it just flashbacks?
There are a couple of cameos.
Ooh,
Well,
okay.
I'm not gonna say anything.
No, I like it. No, that's enough. Thank you very much.
There's one cameo that everyone was really like excited by. So I'm not giving anything more.
Good stuff. Good stuff. No, keep us guessing. It was interesting as well that you mentioned Simon Pegg's moments and his sort of comedy scenes because I loved Simon Pegg prior to Mission Impossible. His Spaced and the Cornetto trilogy. For me, since he's done Mission Impossible, he's become a slightly odd character. More and more Hollywood, and he seems a bit less down to earth. And
It's impossible not to be, because he's been part of some of these absolutely massive, massive movies, and he's become a household name. And from he was in Spaced, he was in like our Simon Pegg, like our Channel 4 Simon Pegg, and suddenly and he's become this absolutely massive star. I think it's hard to become that famous around the world, because these are not just popular in Hollywood, they are popular everywhere in the world, like literally around the globe. I think it's really hard to become that famous and not be changed by it. So I'll give him I think it's fine to become that kind of person. I don't think he's less down to earth. I think he's actually still a really like a decent guy. Yeah, my only problem with it is that he doesn't get that many funny lines. He gets like two or three of them, but not as many as usual.
Yeah. But my point was just that it's actually the bits that I always found funniest were Tom Cruise's Ethan Hawke's frustrations were always the funny bits for me. So I look forward to some moments like that.
Ethan Hunt, not Ethan Hawke.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes. Wrong.
Right. Okay. Well, should we? Let's. I really liked it. I've given it 4 stars out of 5.
Fantastic.
And that is that.
And of course, as we said at the start, this film will appear in your box office on the 21st of May. So book your tickets now, join the queue, meet us in the foyer, and meet myself and Linda for another episode of Meet Me in the Foyer and Cinemania sometime soon. Thank you very much for joining us. Enjoy.
Bye.
Lovely. Oh.